Isaac Asimov is a very well-known, very influential science fiction author. He has quite a few different series, though eventually they did come together in his later books. He originally started off in the 1950s and wrote through to his death in 1992. His stories have been turned into several movies. Today we are going to take a look at his longest-lasting character, Daneel Olivaw. I'm Ollamh, and welcome to Geek Trivia. The character of Daneel, as he is shortly known, was first introduced in the novel Caves of Steel. It's about 3 millennia in Earth's future. Hyperspace travel has been discovered and there are 50 planets known and populated by the Spacers. The Earth government has put in place rather strict anti-robot laws. A Spacer ambassador has been trying to convince them to loosen the restrictions involving robots, but is found murdered outside of his home. Elijah Bailey is assigned to the case. Now, Elijah is not a fan of robots and argues with Daneel that being a precision-engineered, calculating machine, he can have no appreciation of art, beauty, or God. Daneel proves that he does have a morality when he pressures for the murderer to be treated with leniency, stating that destruction of evil is less desirable than the conversion of evil into good. It's really the start of the character development for Daneel, his first steps on the path towards humanity. Later in the book The Naked Sun, we see Elijah and Daneel back together to investigate another murder, this time on the spacer planet of Solarian. Elijah is also instructed to assess the Solarian society for weakness. Come to find out, the planet has a rigidly controlled population, with robots outnumbering humans 20,000 to 1. The population is taught from birth to despise personal contact, living on huge estates, either alone or with their spouse. Now there is a roboticist, Lebig, who is trying to find a way to subvert the laws of robotics, thus enabling robots to kill. Now, with the character of Daneel, it is important to talk about the laws of robotics, which are as follows. Rule 1. A robot may not harm or through an action allow harm to come to a human. 2. A robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And 3. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. The roboticist is trying to apply the unmentioned word knowingly to the laws. If a robot doesn't know that what they are doing is going to harm a human being, the law will not stop them. When captured, Lebig kills himself instead of being arrested because he so dislikes humans. Ironically, the human that he was afraid of was the robot Daneel. The interesting point of this book in Daneel's journey is that the laws of robotics are proven to not be universal. While written well, they can be manipulated and in some ways broken. In fact, another idea was sought in this novel. Put a positronic brain in a spaceship so that it would not be able to recognize humans in space battle, thus allowing a robot ship to kill. In many ways, it proves to Daneel that the laws are not as absolute as the creators wanted, and that robots must have a new law introduced. In his third appearance, Daneel and Elijah travel to the spacer world of Aurora to investigate the unexpected shutdown of the robot Jander Panel. an identical robot to Daneel. This time the two are teamed up with another robot, our Giscard. The chief suspect is thought to be willing to do anything necessary to advance his theory of being able to predict the future through the science of psychohistory. This is an important point as it comes up later in Daneel's long life. Also, through the investigation, Elijah figures out that Giscard has mental abilities such as reading minds, but unfortunately doesn't realize that he can also manipulate minds, so the knowledge is blocked. This is an important step in the development of the character of Daneel for a couple of reasons. It shows the use of mental powers to manipulate the human mind, which could cause harm to a human if improperly used. But hiding those powers is necessary to be able to help the human race in the future, causing them to think about humanity as a whole. It also introduces the idea that killing a robot is a crime, that robot life is valuable beyond just the destruction of property. The question is raised, are robots truly a life form of their own? Will their killing be a crime? It gives added value to their lives and gives added weight to the idea of growth as a separate species. We fast forward 200 years to the book Robots and Empire. Here, Daneel and Giscard tour the Spacers' planets, finding many of them are decaying. They also discover a plot to make Earth uninhabitably radioactive. They try to stop the plot with two secret weapons, Giscard's mental abilities and Daneel's new zeroth law of robotics. The zeroth law is one that not many people know about. The original 3 laws of robotics that we mentioned earlier have been adopted in numerous other sci-fi works, but not this law. The zeroth law states that a robot may not harm or through an action allow harm to come to humanity, and rewrites the original laws to include unless it would conflict with zeroth's law. The zeroth law actually prevents them from stopping the plan altogether. It is decided by the two that it is in humanity's best interest to evacuate Earth, so they delay the plan by 150 years. The stress of this decision, however, destroys Giscard's brain. Before his demise, he teaches Daneel his mental techniques. This book shows the culmination of Daneel's life lessons, learning to value things as a human, the possible failure of the laws of robotics, and being an actual species allows Daneel to add a new law of robotics and, using that judgment, what is best for humanity as a whole. It also allows a plan to be put in motion that will surely kill some humans, but will benefit the species as a whole. Thus we move on to the Foundation series, and one of the later books in the series that is actually set before the originals. Daneel has worked his way into the government of the Galactic Empire and is pulling the strings on the planet Trantor. He uses his influence and unrecognizability to trick one Harry Seldon into staying on the planet, working towards developing psychohistory. The idea of psychohistory is that if, looking at humanity as a whole, one can mathematically figure out statistical probabilities for the future, though humanity as a whole needs to be unaware of the predictions. So through his works, Seldon predicts the fall of the Empire and a millennia of barbarism to come. Though with subtle changes, the setting up of the Foundation, that time can be shortened to a single century. Daneel is applying Zeroth's law and trying to make sure that humanity will not only survive, but be kept as safe as possible. This one is a bit of a standout. It's much later in the flow of time and doesn't fit snugly into the narrative of Daneel's life. We see that he is still around and still working on trying to safeguard humanity as a whole, even to the point of some characters being put in difficult situations and even letting their lives be put at risk for the development of psychohistory. Now, his job isn't done there, though. In fact, he learns of and helps create what can only be described of as a new life form, the planet of Gaia. This is a superorganism that has everything on the planet as part of its makeup. Everything, all life, both animal and plant, as well as the minerals of the planet, are Gaia. We find out at the end of the series, Foundation and Earth, that Daneel has started the Galaxia on a path to becoming connected. He acknowledges that psychohistory was only a stopgap measure, as it relied on human beings being the only sapient species in the universe. At this point, he has lived for almost 20,000 years, and managed this by replacing his positronic brain when it was too deteriorated or full. But it is no longer able to be rebuilt. He needs to merge with a human brain to continue his work and ensure that Galaxia is formed. Thankfully, a child from Solaria was brought and is willing to merge with him. His reasoning for Galaxia is that if all humanity, in truth, all the galaxy, were part of one consciousness, then they would be well protected from each other. When something is needed, the consciousness could move others in the galaxy around to provide for them. Once the creation of Galaxia is past the point of no return, only then can he accept that his mission is successful and expire. This is a fitting end to the story of Daneel. He has put all his plans in action and changed himself as well as the human race. In fact, he achieves what could be said to have started all the way back in Caves of Steel, becoming a human being. The laws of robotics, including the Zeroth's law, were woven into the idea of Gaia and will be present in Galaxia. So he has worked towards, and will continue to work towards, the combining of robot life, human life, and all life to create the perfect life form. And with that accomplished, will finally take that journey beyond life. So that is a brief overview of the character of R. Daneel Olivaw, Asimov's favorite and most used character. He has, in various different ways, influenced the growth and development of the galaxy which Asimov created. The idea that a robot can learn from humans and safeguard humanity is, at least to me, a fascinating concept. So what do you think about the robot? Do you think he was doing something wonderful, or would you have a hard time trusting a human creation to know what is good for humanity? Leave a comment down below, send us a tweet or a post on our Facebook page, and let us know how you would view this creation. We would love to know what you think and are open for discussing the topic. As always, thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some crazy,
Cheerio!
so lazy, then you should meet me and my friends. Even though we got no money, for sure it's all funny. Yeah, everything's better with them. We're just like, ooh,
I seem to have been a little bit
we don't
A little bit stabbed, just a little bit.
I don't even remember the name. It was so bad. I fell asleep twice during that movie.
Yeah.
I fell asleep twice. I was on a date.